Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Zooming In on Hope. I am Ken Dill, University Chaplain at Southern Wesleyan University, and we thank you for joining us again, either by podcast or as you're watching this on one of the social media outlets. Very excited today to have with us two people, a very special guest, Brent Dongell and Natasha Dongell. And so welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Thanks, Ken. Yeah, so I'm the Youth and Children's Ministry or Next Gen Professor at Southern Wesleyan University. So love the campus, and this is our second year kind of being down in this area. So we're newer to the school and loving this as well. I'll let my wife introduce herself.
Yeah, I get to help out in the IT department and teach some seminar courses. So we're excited to be here.
Great. Some people don't know, there's an interesting story about your coming here. Brent had to come and you stayed back in Canada for a while till you got all the immigration issues sorted out. So how long was it before you finally got to be joined up together again as a family?
Yeah, it was 8 months.
Felt a lot longer. It was long, but expedited in some ways. So she has full green card. So part of the blessing, the way it happened was as soon as she got here, she could start working. I started teaching my first full year here. And then around March, right at the beginning of March, I brought our two daughters at that time and Natasha down from the border. And they've been here for just over a year now.
Yeah, that was great. Joyful time whenever you finally got to join him and the girls and be here.
And you and Swoo and our family down here, like friends down here have been a huge support. Like you guys were so key, like so many people, government-wise and you-wise, just in making that happen. So we can't say thank you enough for that.
Thanks, man. It was great. We love y'all. Glad you're a part of the Swoo family. Now, the reason I'm talking to you today is because you have a very interesting story in the midst of this pandemic and shelter in place, all of that's going on. Y'all, well, obviously earlier than this, but you found out that y'all were expecting, right?
Yeah, that was that's crazy. Yeah, it was. July, found out we were expecting. And then that meant that literally we were gonna have a baby within a month of after a year of being here. So it was got down here and then just over being here a year, we added a new daughter to our family.
All right, so tell us, let's just get all the details about her. Tell us her name, birth weight. I'll let you have a picture, I think, there. Maybe.
A funny picture.
Yeah. Olivia Brooke Dongells. I'm actually blanking on the birth weight right now.
713.
713.
Okay.
And so, this is actually the only picture we have right here right now. This is Olivia. This is our picture of her passport for her Canadian citizenship. So we were making sure that she can be American and Canadian because of our marriage. So that's a fun part of that.
And I know everybody would really like to see her, but she's sleeping right now. And I told you, don't wake her up. Let her sleep. It's okay.
You could cook this into us at the end, but we didn't want a crying baby for the whole
That's
time.
right. So it's okay. So birthday was when?
Yeah, April 3rd.
All right. Healthy mom, you're healthy.
Yes.
Everybody's good.
Yes, we're so grateful.
She even in the American system did well. First two babies, our first two daughters were born in Canada. So the quick story, if you forget the whole, if people don't know our details, was my wife was previously married and widowed, and so my first two daughters were 2 and 4 at the time they lost their dad. So when we became a family, Aaliyah and Roya were 5 and 6. And then we got married. So this is actually my first newborn. Like I haven't parented a daughter or a kid younger than 5 years old. I literally changed my first diaper less than 2 months ago in my entire life.
Congratulations. It won't be your last.
No.
He still needs some practice.
Not terrible. I'm still working on it.
So you're looking at an April due date, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, it was March actually.
Oh, okay.
March 21st.
Yeah, she went 2 weeks
was
over.
The due date. So, yeah.
All right. So you were looking at a March due date.
Mm-hmm.
Things were going fine. Everything's great. Ready to bring the baby, all that kind of stuff. And then 1st of March, we start to hear about COVID-19.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, things start to change quickly in terms of the university went on spring break, and then we didn't come back, or at least students didn't come back, and we closed and went to online teaching and then shelter in place and things like that. What did all that mean for y'all in terms of getting ready to have a baby?
Yeah, the timing was funny in the sense that right as it was happening, I was kind of going on maternity leave, kind of, not technically, but so I was coming home anyway. And then it was this kind of progression of, learning more and more about what's really going on. And, the progression kind of unfolded. And then in that, one of the factors was my mom up in Canada, the borders closed and she wasn't going to be able to come anymore. And so she was, that was hard. That was hard on her for sure. I mean, she's, she rolls with it. But so, yeah, just kind of, there was this sense of, on the one hand, kind of being in that baby bubble and, at the very end, and you're just kind of waiting every day. And we had, people may not want details, but I was dilated for 4 weeks before she came. So there was it was like just this real long, like, okay, like we're in this and yet it's never coming at the same time. So, there was that part of it, and that we're just, is this baby ever coming? And then at the same time, the whole world is shifting and changing, and that's like unfolding, each day. And then as we get closer, especially past the due date, because they were very, they didn't like that. so there were more sort of check-ins at the hospital, that kind of a thing. And Brent couldn't come in, so he would wait in the car, and I'd get screened before going up, and then I'd FaceTime him and try to keep him, in the conversation.
For appointments, yeah.
For the appointments, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and so when we went to, that meant when, we actually the hospital had the baby, and we were 2 weeks overdue. I was the only one that could be in there. So no visitors, no family. So as of now, neither of our grandparents have held our Olivia yet. They haven't been able to travel down just because of the state and country restrictions or just warnings. So we haven't had we've been overly blessed, to be honest, by gifts from the community and people taking care of us, both beyond church family wise and SWU wise. But as to Olivia having a big social life, it's been mainly just our family so far.
Yeah. So you had to make some plans then, because you didn't have any grandparents here to take care of the other two girls, right? Mm-hmm. So somebody else had to step in, I'm assuming. That's.
Yes, yeah, we had to, do we say who? We had Jamie Armstrong from SWU, is our very dear friend and real close to the girls. So she was kind of just prepared and on the ready and super sweet and wonderful with the girls. So she was able to be at the house. So that was our, breaking quarantine, was we weren't allowed to bring the girls to the hospital anymore. Right. So they were not, it was only, that's what Brent meant by only he. We were so fortunate they didn't, say that he couldn't come. That would have been interesting. But definitely nobody else was allowed, even in the waiting room. So yeah, so we had Jamie at the
Yes.
house with the girls.
So Jamie was awesome, but we had probably all 4 of our neighbors. Clemson Central's been amazing beyond Sue even. All 4 of them were like, hey, you can call any time of the night and we'll take the girls. So it's been, we've been truly well supported and blessed through this.
So in a time when a lot of people feel very uncertain, unsure, a lot of time in this time where people are maybe even fearful a little bit about what's going to happen or things that are going on, stuff like that. God somehow brought life to you, to your family, and hope to other people about this. Tell us a little bit about your prayers, your faith during that time.
Ken, just real quick, one of the things as we were preparing for this that made me think of is, I'm not sure if you or anyone listening online would have a moment where you prayed for something to happen, like you knew an exam was coming up, but if it were to be canceled or delayed, you'd be totally okay with that, you know? And so, and then sometimes it actually happens, you're like, we don't have this exam, or it's, you know, and so it was funny because in one way I would have loved to have had this baby in our traditional summertime months where I was off of teaching. And it was happening more on March in the middle of spring break, but still going back to teaching. And so COVID actually, in a reverse weird way, actually allowed me to stay home and work from home and be with Olivia more than I probably could have if we were fully full go in the traditional campus. So in a really weird way, it actually allowed me to be with Olivia and our family more in this season, which has been cool.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Were you fearful during this time of your family not being there, not being the way that maybe you had in your mind thought about it, or the way it had been in the past with your other two daughters?
Yeah. I don't think there was a lot of fear, though there was that sense of responsibility, wanting to, you know, how do we honor what's happening and make good choices? And so, you know, Brent's parents in Indiana, you know, it was that decision for them not to come, you know, just so sort of thinking through, so less fear, but a little bit more, you know, how do we honor what's happening in the world right now and just make wise choices? And then, as Brent said, in the midst of that, be okay that there's a little bit of a, you know, bubble of blessing that we got to live in, that in our family's story, this is really kind of part of the redemption story that, you know, God has been writing for us. So not in a way of covering up, you know, all of the trauma and everything else happening around the world, but being able to acknowledge that we had a bit of a sweet, little blessing.
I would have a little bit, if we're just talking about, it would have been more around the financial unknown side of it. So for us, this would have been, Natasha has been working, so she was taking time off. And so COVID in that sense was weird. And actually, we're going to make it, you know? So it was the first time having a baby in that, but tax refund will come in the season. There's enough to where actually we've been supplemented in the month or a month or two that Natasha's not working, to where my fears of the unknown are settled out. And it's one of those on the pending coming up, you get really worried. But then when you're in there, you're like, you get through it. You know, you keep going on. There's new answers to prayer, and you always find a way in those times, for sure. God provided.
That's great. That's great. These are powerful words, and it's not only words, but it's in your heart, on your face. And we thank you for sharing your hope with us. Thank you for sharing your story with us. And as we end this up, I just want to say to people that are listening, people who are watching, we serve a God of hope, and there are places of hope and redemption as we look for them. He will reveal them to us. So thank you so much for being here and being a part of this. And say to others, look for us. We'll have another episode next week, and hope that you will continue to zoom in on hope. Thanks. Bye.